In this video, we'll be taking a look at two NFL games happening on December 20th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 4 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these two NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Philadelphia Eagles versus Washington Commanders. The Philadelphia Eagles and Washington Commanders square off on Saturday in NFL action at Northwest Stadium, a standalone spot that tends to crank up the attention and the pressure just a bit more than your usual early window kickoff. Philadelphia's blowout of the Raiders might not impress the football snobs too much, since Las Vegas has its own issues, but that 31-0 result was exactly the kind of stress relief this team needed. The Eagles dropped 31 points, racked up 27 first downs, and rolled to 387 yards of offense, which finally felt like a complete effort after weeks of uneven play. Now they head into the nation's capital with actual momentum for the first time in a while, laying just shy of that key number of 6 against Washington in a Saturday showcase that people will absolutely overreact to on social media. Washington, for its part, beat New York while getting outgained and allowing 22 first downs to the Giants, which tells you the box score was a lot kinder than the underlying performance. 6 of the Commanders' 29 points came from a punt return touchdown, so the offensive output looked cleaner on the scoreboard than it really was on the field. That is the kind of result that feels good in the locker room, but does not exactly scream sustainable if you look at it like a bettor with a spreadsheet. There is at least one bright spot. Mariota has not been flat-out terrible this season, and Washington is coming off that win over the Giants, so this is not a group that has fully checked out emotionally. Still, the Commanders sit at roughly a 5-9 record against the spread, and that profile is not one you are eager to trust week after week, especially when they are up against teams with genuine postseason dreams. An Eagles blowout win over the Raiders might actually be their most convincing performance of the year, and even if it came against a flawed opponent, it can still act as a hinge point with the playoffs coming into view. The Commanders' defense remains flat-out dreadful, and they are roughly 3-9 against the spread in their last dozen games as an underdog, which is a trend that backs up what your eyes probably already think. There is also a realistic chance the Eagles get 2 key trench pieces back, with Lane Johnson at tackle and Jalen Carter at defensive tackle, both having sat out the win over Las Vegas. When you are betting, those big bodies do not move the casual fan's needle, but they quietly move the pocket and the line of scrimmage, which is what really matters here. The defending Super Bowl champs have not lived up to that label for much of the season, yet they are fresh off a 31-0 demolition of the Raiders, and I expect them to lean into that confidence and push the score again. Washington looks like a team in full tank mode after shutting down Jaden Daniels for the rest of the year, and without their franchise quarterback, the Commanders' offense is unlikely to suddenly bloom. They are sitting 31st in the league in defensive expected points added, giving up the 7th most points per game, the 2nd highest expected points added, and the 2nd most yards per play. And they also went into Week 15 at 27th in defensive defense adjusted value over average, which is basically a collection of red flags for anyone trying to catch points with them. Yes, the Eagles have already lost outright twice this season as favorites of more than 5 points, so they are not bulletproof in this role. Even so, I am still willing to lay the number here. If Philadelphia really wants to finish strong and roll into the postseason in something close to playoff form, this needs to be another comfortable win. They get another soft defensive matchup in Week 16, and there is every reason to think they can put up enough points while keeping Washington's weakened offense under control to cover this spread. Philadelphia is simply the more talented roster front to back, and there is an extra push here because they need to build momentum, not just squeak by. As our first pick for this matchup, the Philadelphia Eagles to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Eagles have been an under machine this season, with 6 straight Philadelphia games finishing below the posted total, which is not an accident when you look at how they are built. Their defense is a premium unit, and Vic Fangio's group should be able to clamp down on the Washington ground game, which would funnel Mariota and the Commanders into a lot of obvious third and long passing downs. That is usually when the pass rush can pin its ears back, and when drives sputter into field goals or punts instead of turning into long touchdown marches. On the flip side, the Eagles' offense has not exactly inspired a ton of trust lately. It has been shaky enough that you almost wince when they line up for another early down run into a stacked box. Hurts and a stale-looking scheme have struggled to find rhythm, and asking that offense to suddenly hum for 4 quarters against a division rival on the road feels ambitious, even if the matchup looks good on paper. Sometimes a unit can post a big score like it did against the Raiders, then still slip back into old habits against a team that knows its tendencies inside and out. Philadelphia has now gone under in 6 consecutive contests, and neither offense qualifies as truly explosive right now. Washington is missing its franchise quarterback, and while that does not mean they cannot score at all, it does mean sustained fireworks are tough to project. The weather is not going to be brutal, but with temperatures hovering in the high 30s by the second half, receivers are not exactly thrilled to take hits on slants and digs, and that can subtly shrink the passing game. This sets up as more of a grind than a track meet, with one team pushing hard to lock in a playoff berth and the other playing for pride against an old rival. That combination often leads to heavy, physical drives, more clock chewing, and fewer clean deep shots. When you put the recent understreak, the defensive strength, the quarterback situation, and the chilly conditions together, a lower scoring, rock fight style game is the most reasonable expectation. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Green Bay Packers versus Chicago Bears. One of the biggest games on the Week 16 slate lands in Chicago, where the Bears host the Green Bay Packers in a massive NFC North showdown that suddenly feels a lot heavier than your standard rivalry game. These two just played in Green Bay a couple of weeks ago, and that one literally came down to the final possession, with the Packers hanging on. This time, though, Chicago walks in looking stronger as a team, helped by the key injuries that have piled up on the Green Bay side. Ben Johnson's group was in a brutal situational spot against the Browns last week, but you never would have known it from the scoreboard. The Bears' offense never blinked against that tough Cleveland defense, hanging 31 points and controlling things from start to finish at home. Caleb Williams is playing the best football of his young career right now, and the Bears' defense has quietly started to show real improvement, which changes the whole feel of this matchup compared to their early season version. Green Bay really has no business sitting as just a 1-point underdog when you strip away Parsons and other key pieces like Kraft, Elton Jenkins, and Devontae Wyatt, all of whom are out for the year. The Packers and Bears look like they are traveling in opposite directions, with Chicago hitting its stride in Johnson's scheme while Green Bay fades late in the season. For a while, the Bears were easy to shrug off because of that soft schedule, but since then they have beaten Philadelphia, gone wire to wire with the Packers, and then steamrolled Cleveland. Earlier in the year, they were escaping with close wins against modest teams, not smashing quality defenses. Chicago might not know exactly where it will be playing its home games a few years from now, but the near future looks far more promising than it did even a month ago. Both teams are sitting near the top of the NFC North picture, so there is real playoff weight here. The Packers are coming off a road loss to Denver where they actually looked decent for 3 quarters before things slipped away. Chicago, meanwhile, is 5-1 at home and still stewing over that 28-21 loss at Lambeau a few weeks back. Both quarterbacks have been sharp recently, but with Parsons and Christian Watson banged up on the Green Bay side, the Bears feel like the group that has a bit more room to make the pivotal plays when it matters. Without their star pass rusher, this Packers defensive front is nowhere near as scary, and it runs into a Chicago offensive line that grades among the best in the league in both pass protection and run blocking. Those big bodies up front sit right near the top of the charts in pass block win rate and inside the top tier in run block win rate at ESPN, and very few lines can say they are that strong in both phases. Williams, who was stuck at just over 5 yards per attempt back in Week 14, should have more time now to let deeper concepts develop. At the same time, the Bears' run game is clearly building momentum. They ripped off 138 rushing yards on 32 carries in that last meeting with Green Bay and have averaged about 5 yards per carry over their last 3 outings. Then you stack on the schedule. The short turnaround squeezes the Packers even more, with the injuries mounting and the travel load heavy, including back-to-back road games and 3 away trips in the last 4 weeks. It is not that Green Bay suddenly became a bad team. It is that Chicago is rising while the Packers are trying to play through a grind with a shrinking roster. When you put together the trench edge, the revenge angle, the quarterback form, and the turnover-hungry Bears defense, it makes sense to lean to Williams and company finding a way to finish the job at home in what could be a division-clinching moment. Back Chicago in this spot. As our first pick for this matchup, the Chicago Bears money line is our full game side pick. Both teams are missing important offensive weapons, which naturally pulls expectations down a little. Chicago is without its top receiver, Odunze, and Green Bay has been without Kraft, while stars like Jacobs and Watson are banged up and not at full strength. When you spread that across 4 quarters, you are looking at fewer clean explosive plays and more drives that sputter in the middle of the field. Injuries have hit the visitors particularly hard, and that pairs with some ongoing ball security problems that are tough to ignore against this Bears defense. Chicago is strong against the pass, just held Cleveland to 3.6 yards per attempt, and forced 3 turnovers in that game. That is exactly the kind of defensive profile that can punish even small mistakes. Love already cost his team late against Denver with an interception, and if Jacobs is limited or absent, it becomes harder for Green Bay to lean on a steady run game to keep the Bears honest. Put simply, it would not be surprising if the Packers struggle to reach their team total here. The Bears can certainly move the ball, but Green Bay still has a smart and experienced group that knows how to compete and drag games into more methodical, possession-based battles rather than letting them explode into shootouts. That combination usually means longer drives, more field goals, and fewer sudden scoring spikes. So while Chicago has been impressive and Green Bay remains competitive, the blend of missing playmakers, turnover potential, and defensive strength on both sides points toward a game that stays under the number rather than turning into a fireworks show. You are more likely to get a tense, controlled contest than a scoreboard-burning spectacle. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.